My goal for everything, I want to add a little bit of magic, you know? Like,
yes!
There's not enough magic and fantasy in the world, in my opinion. And if I can add a little bit of something like that, that's the goal.
We're so conditioned at the moment to just put time into barely scraping by that we forget to put time into ourselves and our passions.
I call Skye the meme queen because I only understand 30% of what she says.
I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was.
Like, one thing I've carried into real life that has become quite prevalent with Zero is crying all the time.
Oh, sorry.
Wow, you and me went to two completely different places.
There's nothing more interesting than someone who's interested. If you're helping to build up the people around you, you become more interesting.
Yes.
And that can do a lot at the table. Hi guys, and welcome back to Above the Table, where we're going to be talking everything nerdy about the TTRPG community. With us today, we have Skye.
Thank you very much for having me.
So Skye plays in the regular campaign with me and Cody and the guys on this channel, as any of you probably know if you're a part of our community. And she's got a lot of experience in the TTRPG world.
Just a smidge, just a tiny bit. Just a casual 10 years.
That's, you've got like 7 on me. So we'll just discuss some bits and pieces today. We're going to try and go over like DM nerves, some different things about what's going on in the community, probably a little bit of world building stuff. And we're going to specifically talk about Norbayne, which is a game system that Skye and some of her friends are actually developing.
This is Editing Seb checking in. I am the better looking buffer version of Seb. I'm just here to warn you guys there will be some pretty heavy topics discussed in this episode, and we'll let you know when they're coming up, as well as a whole lot of nonsense. Let us know if you like this more conversational style, or if you'd prefer us to get back to a bit more of a structured type of podcast. DM nerves in a one-on-one game.
I guess on the topic of like DM nerves, I really want to talk about the spectrum of which those nerves can exist, because I just recently ran for the first time on camera. I've done like episodes like on podcasts a little bit, and I've done just like home games where I've run and stuff like that on systems that I'm much more comfortable with. D&D is still like a bit of on a DM perspective, probably still a bit more fresh in my journey for that one. But I did a one-on-one game just recently for Tale of Two that we're also doing here on Turns and Tales. And wowzers, that I've run for big groups before. Like, I've run for a table that had about maybe 9 or 10 players at it. That, man, unless you have the patience of a god, I do not. I could not do that again. That was a one-time only.
A one-person game, like, I've had a little bit of a look through because the guys did film that, so we're hoping to get that up on the channel as well as like a little bit of something extra. I might get you to talk to that a little bit more as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
One-on-one DMing though, oh my God. Like, I know as a DM, I love to give it to the group to see how they play off each other and then take that stuff and manipulate it a little bit.
Yes.
Whereas one-on-one, there's a lot more relying on you.
It really kind of like feels like, I thought like it would be easier. For some reason, I just thought like, less players for me to accommodate for. It can be like a lot more intimate. I can focus on this player a lot more. And whilst that's the case, that's still accurate. As soon as I sat down and, you hear Cody go, and we're live, and you see the red light flashing on the camera, and all of a sudden I feel like I am standing naked on a stage, and like it's just massive stage fright because there's nothing to hide behind. It's you, your story, and just one player.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how kind of exposing that would be. I've never run for just one person.
I don't think there'd be many people out there who have.
No, and it's also like from a DM to player perspective, that player, because there's obviously not other players at the table, they're kind of hanging on every word that you're saying. It's much more easier for them to get the fine details and the intricacies of the story that you're weaving, which if you know you've got little holes in your storyline, prepare to have those absolutely blown out the water, because they will find them. It's just one person, there's no one else distracting them. They're going to find the holes in your story.
I think like when we have a whole heap of us at the table, even though things like the cameras become less of a thing because you've got a lot of different people to bounce off. Whereas the two of you just sitting there and then Cody on the other side of the room recording, sitting quietly, it'd feel like a lot more. And these things are scary. Like it's taken me 2-3 years of shooting my own stuff for YouTube to get even this comfortable on camera. Like
I envy that about you, absolutely.
It's one of the biggest reasons I started my other craft channel, Seb Make Stuff, is because I wanted to get more comfortable on camera and public speaking. And if you go back to my original stuff, they're talking like this, hardly looking, and now it's like, okay, at the camera, I'm good, get some energy.
Man, your camera presence, I must say, is something to aspire to, because it's
just practice.
Oh,
the more you sit in front of them, the more they just become like. I look at the camera now as, oh look, there's 3 cameras here.
Yeah,
that's the audience. That's the other person. And that's the way. Yep. I think my brain's tricked myself into. And the best part is it's all digital. So if I don't like this, it's gone. Like
just get rid of it.
Yeah.
In the
and
trash.
There's been a few things even throughout our games where something sort of in game's been a bit like, oh, we've gone a bit silly here, or that maybe isn't the most appropriate thing, and we can scrap that.
Give it a little trim.
Yeah. You probably notice if you guys watch the games, I'm often making notes, and half of them aren't to do with the game. They're times to either pull out a short or go, maybe we cut this out because someone just said the C word 8 times in a row for no reason. Probably
I am a distinguished lady. I would never.
Look, I'm all for the swearing in our game, but occasionally we go on side rants where I don't even know what's being said by all this.
Oh, yeah. I'm a shocker for that, personally.
I call Skye the meme queen because I only understand 30% of what she says, and everyone, there's always someone at the table that is like parroting you with it. So it's a thing. But
I'm like the parrot whisperer of the table. I've got something for everyone. Exactly. Except for you, Seb, I think I'm.
Oh, there's every now and again. You can watch it, or if you guys watch the stream, if I understand the meme, I'll be smirking. Otherwise, I've been told this by a couple of people. I'm just there with this. Like,
you have a massive NPC question mark above your head.
I have no idea what's going on. It's just because I'm too old, guys. I've outgrown these youngins and all their.
I'm gonna have to find some more age-appropriate content for you. Yeah.
I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was.
So usually when Cody says, "Oh no, I get that one,"
I understood that reference.
But in terms of the point that you made about the cameras though and getting used to them, so valid. Wish I was there on my journey, because doing that one-on-one thing, and you're so right. Like when we're at the table and we're doing tones and tails and stuff like that, unless I'm tripping over them, I completely forget the cameras are there. Or unless I'm trying to do an office fourth wall break and I'm just like...
There's something more comfortable as well when there are more people. Or even like this today, it's a bit easier because we're talking to each other, not at the camera. Like if we were trying to deliver all this at the camera, this would be coming across a lot differently.
Yes.
And it takes a lot more, to kind of work that. Whereas I think that's why...
Oh, yeah.
It's why we want to do this. We want to sit down and have conversations. And ultimately, we'd like to get more people from the community outside of just our games. I'm already talking to Bailey about coming in and really talking heavy about art.
Talking art. In-house character art.
Bailey, he's, again, if you guys watch, he's one of our players and he's a digital artist and really in that world.
He's a gun. He's a gun at that stuff.
I'd love to discuss with him a bit of the controversies at the moment with AI art and things like that in the community.
Oh, yes. I'm sure he has words on that one.
Yes. I don't think that's something we should discuss unless we have someone that's a part of that community here. Skye, you do a lot of our art too, but you're not trying to aspire to that as your career.
No.
So it's a little bit different.
Yeah, massively different. It's easy to pump out pieces in 1 or 2 hours when the best you're doing is mediocre work.
It's better than mediocre.
That's all it needs to be.
Here, right there. So, yeah, you've been doing that for our stuff lately. So for a few of our one-shots lately, Skye's been doing just these real quick pumping out works, and they astound me at how good they are for the amount of time you're putting into them.
I mean, they're doing just the profiles. I find anything from here above is so much more easier than doing like full body, and which is what I really respect out of Bailey's work, is that he just manages to like Frankenstein all these references and just gets the pose perfect pretty much every time. And the shading. What the fuck, man?
Some of his
I
stuff.
can't shade for shit.
We are hoping to get some more of the full body works from Bailey's maybe in the next chunk of our releases. But the work that he puts in is just...
Yes. One day I'll be able to shade in a way where you actually know where the light source is coming from.
That's the bitch, isn't it? Yeah, no, I'm the same. I used to be like, oh yeah, no, I can do this. And then I'm like, why doesn't it look right?
Yes.
Because there's a shadow here and here.
Yeah. I have like this tendency every time to just try and visualize that the light is coming from the top left corner, and I do nothing else.
Hey,
my
works.
brain would not compute.
But no, the art we're getting, it's awesome. Like, in having artwork, I don't know, I can't speak to what you guys at home think, but I can only imagine it's so much better being able to see what we are trying to describe with our art. Like, when we're all playing different characters, sometimes you just look at us and it's like, oh, it's just them. But when we can have that little headshot up in the corner, I think it makes such a difference.
Yes, no, I agree 100%. I'm a very visual person. And like when I'm watching, and this is like absolutely not a dig or a critique or anything like that, but as someone who's more of like a visual theatre of the mind, I guess, when I am imagining, like when I'm watching people playing and they're describing their characters, I'll be able to hold on to that visual that they've like, you know, verbalized for maybe about the first 5-10 minutes. And then after that, it's like Seb with flowers on his shoulders.
Yeah, 100%.
And and then it just ends up turning into the player as time goes by. So I really wanted to push to, you know, and that's why I was happy to take them on, because having those little like headshots there, for me, when I'm going back and watching them, I'm like, oh, that's right, that's what they look like. I'll like dive down, like, that's right, that's what they're meant to be looking like. So I'm always happy to do those for my own benefit as well.
Yeah, there you go. And I think it works awesome for our games, being able to put that out there.
Yeah, no, it's been really fun actually. It's I've learned a lot doing them, especially about proportioning and learning how to move the head in different ways and get it from different angles. And, you know, because I think sometimes like people see the art and they think like, oh yeah, like it's just like a headshot. But when you know what goes on behind, like it's layer after layer, like one layer is just like the basic shaping of the head, then another layer of where the lines of where the features of the face are going to sit, and then figuring out where you want to put those on those lines. Do you want wide set eyes closer in a more narrow nose? Do you want the lips closer to the, you know, to the bridge of the nose? And it's just, it's a lot more. When I first started doing it, it ended up being a lot more work than what I thought it was going to, because I was a big painter before I started doing digital art. I love just getting on a canvas and painting, or just drawing in my sketchbook, mostly just with like charcoal and stuff like that. And then Bailey actually gave me my first drawing tablet, and he was all like,
It makes such a difference.
Yes.
Tablets. Oh.
Yes, and he was like, oh, you know, I've gotten a new one, I've upgraded. Do you like want my hand-me-downs? I was like, yeah, give it to me. And I think I sat hunchback in my dining room table for about like 8 to 10 hours the first time I tried, because I was like, I have to get it perfect. But there is a massive difference between like just a tablet in front of you and having to look up at the screen and try to figure out where you are, as opposed to getting one that has the actual screen on it.
Do you have one?
Revolutionary. I bought Mon's old one because she upgraded.
So half of our team are incredible artists.
Yeah.
Like, I make cool stuff to go on the table. These guys all make beautiful works to like finish the rest of our...
Oh, Mon is really good with her rendering and her detail. Like,
So that's another thing. In the next batch of episodes we'll have coming out, hopefully, I think we're very close to having Hugel finished, which will be the last one, and we'll be updating the headshots to be these new really high res because the current ones we're running are actually something that Cody threw together just on an iPad.
We're just all out here drawing.
Yeah, except
Just all
me.
drawing.
I'll make stuff for the table, but I can't draw for shit.
You're doing God's work. What do you mean?
That's it. So we've got to have different talents.
There's
amongst
absolutely no way that any of us at the table could just like pick this up and decide together to crack it one day and be within a shadow of what you do.
Just follow my tutorials. And there's a lot of different skills at our table. I think it works well. So
absolutely.
Yeah, between us all, we've got a lot covered. And that's kind of part of the goal of what we want to grow our offerings out to you guys.
Our plans. Growing this channel.
We talked about it last time, we want these new actual deliverables. So different custom classes, maybe some world expansions, magic items. Me and Mon have been talking about a herbology style guide for potions and poisons and like gathering.
So keen for that.
And a rule set to apply for that, which again, at some point we'll get Mon down here and we'll probably talk more on that once we actually have something going. But
get her in the chair.
we have plans.
So
There's just not enough hours in the day, unfortunately.
No, there isn't.
See, all
really
of us
isn't.
work full time and this is a hobby, so.
Oh yeah. I think man, I would love, like, this is the thing, like, I would love to be doing this stuff a lot more frequently because that's the dream. That's like the dream for pretty much everybody at the table is to just to be able to do this like full time. Well, not full time, but as much as possible.
No full time. That's the dream.
Look, I was trying to like be humble and ground myself, but no, Seb's right. Full time, all the time, every day.
I would love for us to have like an office studio space where all day, every day we could be creating fantasy artworks, just making, my goal for everything, my craft stuff, this channel, I'm starting to work with my mum on a children's book. The idea is I want to add a little bit of magic, there's not enough magic and fantasy in the world, in my opinion. Too many people don't play enough, fantasize enough. And if I can add a little bit of something like that, that's the goal.
No, I reckon, damn, man, that was surprisingly philosophical and deep. I respect that.
It comes out every now and then.
No, I think
you've got to have
right.
a why, That's the drives all this. It's why I can put almost all of my spare time into all of this stuff.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree. I think in this day and age, we've really squashed and smothered creative expression and outlet because we're all in this big rat race. And, touching on reality for a moment, like cost of living and like all this other stuff like that, a lot of people are having to use pretty much all hours of their day doing what they can just to get by. And it makes stuff like this seem like a pipe dream, like it's unattainable. We're so conditioned at the moment to just put time into barely scraping by that we forget to put time into ourselves and our passions, which is so kind of really sad.
Well, I've been so lucky that my job's gone to work from home since it happened and the world fell apart. We've stayed in work from home. So I've gone back another 2 hours a day that I would have otherwise been commuting.
Oh, yeah, shoot.
Which makes a huge difference. I'm also in a creative field making educational videos, so a lot of the equipment I have can double up over here. But just most people don't have that.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky and I'm well aware of that. And even in this situation, having this space is only because my roommate owns this house and I get a very good deal with rent. If I was out renting, I would be in probably a 1-bedroom apartment and none of what I have here would be possible.
Well, you're certainly making the most of it, and I think that's what counts.
Got to.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can, do.
Yeah.
Just do it. If you can, do it.
Even if you love it,
yeah,
it's worth it.
Well, exactly. Like, even just start out small. Like, I know it's like, I get it. It's easier said than done. But just like start off small and simple. And like, I think some people come to realize how fulfilling it can be just to like, even just to make something that's yours. It doesn't have to be great or grand or intricate or anything like that.
It's called the IKEA effect. There's actually a psychological perspective for it,
IKEA.
where if you build something yourself, you put more value behind it.
Yes.
And that's a large part of why
love
IKEA
that.
furniture becomes, you know, in flat packs or something, because you build it yourself and it actually does have an application to your brain that you will put more value behind the thing because you spend time making it.
Oh, absolutely. My whole room is IKEA. If there could be like a mascot for IKEA, I would gladly put my name forward. I love that place. But no, I definitely agree with you. It's a little bit of you out into the world, I think. And creativity is like creative, you know, endeavors are so personalized, and it's sentimental without even the intent of being sentimental sometimes. Yeah. And I think a lot of people not having that opportunity and ability to do that where we currently are as a society today, where again, we're all just running that rat race, that's really bleak and it's very grey.
I think as well with things like TikTok and Instagram, there's become this real drive with creativity that it's too much about getting the likes or getting the shares or getting other people to approve of what you've made, not just sitting there and making something yourself.
That external validation.
And even I've found it with a few things like crafting stuff that I like to do for fun. A lot of the time now I'm like, well, I've got to make a video. If I'm doing it, I've got to.
It is
and lately
like that.
It's been trying to do like a few date nights with my girlfriend where it's like, all right, no, the cameras are going away. This is for us. This is just for the two of us to have a nice night making something. It's not for the rest of the world. It's just for us to do something.
It really does get that way though, because I think, what was it? I think we were playing like a home game. I played with Cody and a bunch of really cool guys that he started playing with at Irresistible Force. Where was it? Tanamera, I think. I don't even know. I'm so not from this end. I come from the Switch. I'm from Ipswich, so.
See, this is the thing. Most of the rest of the guys live on like. It's a different city. It actually is. Once you cross over to Logan, so I'm about an hour away from the rest of the guys. So we're on different ends of the Gold Coast.
Here is so nice. Here is so
beautiful,
nice.
but it's so fucking expensive.
So expensive. Oh my gosh.
I'm trying to buy a house and I'll be moving up your way.
Yeah, well, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to at the moment.
Especially if I want a space to do this.
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh my gosh, my choo-choo train of thought has left the station. I had it there, right there, and it just flew left. Oh my gosh.
If it's important, it'll come back.
You're right. It will return. That's right, the TikTok thing.
The TikTok thing. Problem players in the TTRPG community.
I actually have a relevant gripe. Is that too negative of a word to use? I'm going to use it anyways. I have a bit of like a gripe at the moment with this massive trend that's happening on TikTok about problem players and problem players. I say both because there certainly are problem players in the community who have probably been told that their behaviour at the table is inappropriate and they continue to, push that boundary.
I think we've all got some horror stories.
Ooh, yeah, we can wrap around to that in a moment. But I've been noticing an increase in videos on TikTok where they're calling out problem players and these sort of like niche archetypes of problem players that they're going with kind of just sound like people who aren't as exposed to the tabletop community and might be newer to it. They might not have as much social jazz hands, I like to call, like you're just able to sit at the table and everything runs smoothly and it's all peachy. And honestly, a good chunk of them kind of just sound like straight up personality clashes, which I think I have personally found it a little bit sandpapery because it's setting people up for failure. Like if we're making these long lists of like players that we just don't like you're a problem player, if you get too excited and you're cutting people off at the table, that happens I am a tried and true example of that. Sometimes I just get really excited and I'm like at the table, you know.
I think we have a lot of people in this community too that are in the neurodivergent spaces, and sometimes you get your ADD or ADHD types that when something comes to mind, we have to shout it.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's going to go and then it's going to irk us the rest of the game.
Get it all out there, yeah. And like sometimes you're so afraid of like missing the boat. Like there's a topic at hand and you've got something that you want to say about it, but then you can feel the conversation slowly shifting away from you. Like, oh no, wait, no, I had something. And I think listing, people that fall into a similar niche like that and other areas where it's just simply a bit of a skip of the beat. It's a one-off. They don't quite understand. It's a bit of a personality quirk. You're keeping them away from the table. Posting these videos, I reckon, and just like, to put it bluntly, putting the fear of God in them. Like, if you do this at your table, if you ever come to the table and do this, like, everyone's gonna hate you. Like, what a way to just gatekeep people.
It's another problem again with your social media stuff out there, especially with the short form stuff, and you need to grab people's attention. It goes back into another psychological thing, which is the negativity bias. People will watch things that are negative and draw to that, which might get you views out there, but we in this community, we want to bring more people into the community.
Exactly.
And I think there's a lot lately as well where people get mad at people that haven't been a part of the community forever.
Yes.
And we're getting a lot of new people. Like, I'm one of the new... I got brought into this world from Critical Role. Like, that's what started me on the whole thing. And then, I've watched a lot of different stuff now and I've gotten into different aspects of it. But without Critical Role, I would have never discovered this world.
That's exactly right. That's like, the whole Stranger Things, effect where people watch Stranger Things. We hit that metal scene. Everybody loved Eddie. And then they started listening to Metallica. And then we got me and my mate Steph, we call them the name 3 songs kind of people, where you wear the band shirt, you rock up to the concert, someone wants something like, name 3 songs of that band shirt you're wearing. I bet you can't.
I saw a great Instagram video not long ago where a dad was like to his daughter, like, oh yeah, your Metallica shirt. And he's like, do you actually like them? And she thought it was a clothing brand.
Oh my God, I love it.
Because there's so many out there now,
There's
people
so
that are
many
rocking
out there
that.
now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even Metallica, I think they ended up commenting on their official TikTok page where someone literally commented on one of their videos, I'm so sorry, Metallica, that all these new fake fans are coming in because of the Stranger Things, wave and stuff like that. And Metallica was literally like, we welcome everyone,
they're
long-time
great
fans,
for a lot of that stuff.
New fans, everything's a
lot
gateway.
Of these communities, especially stuff that traditionally has been subcultures, so your metalheads, your punks, your D&D, your nerds, your gaming people. There's a real bad issue with it, like Warhammer and Wargaming. Gatekeeping.
Oh, yeah.
I think because for a long time it was like you had to be so steadfast to be the one that actually did commit to that hobby.
Yeah.
You had to put up with so much shit. Now that it's accepted and popular, people are a little bit like, well, you didn't earn your way here.
Yeah, a bit of a chip on the shoulder with that one. And it does suck when something that, you were really passionate about, but, would be subject to, nasty comments, maybe bullying, snide remarks. And now all of a sudden everybody loves it. But that's the,
I was like
that's
the
the
first
journey.
emo at school. I copped shit for ages, and then suddenly Black Parade came out and everyone thought it was cool,
I feel that in my soul.
But I think we should all welcome more people to our community. We want this to grow. We want it to keep going.
Absolutely.
Sure, there's real problem players out there, and sometimes you can have a little bit of a bitch, but we need to encourage these people and teach them better. And like you said before, sometimes it's just about not finding the right table.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. There are definitely boundary pushers, people that just touch on subjects that just should not be touched on at the table, making people, genuinely uncomfortable. But there's a difference, I think, between bringing genuine dismay to your table and not really taking the other players into consideration with their comfort and their boundaries, and then someone doing something that gives someone else at the table a bit of an ick.
Yes.
Be more kind, especially if you're a long-term player and you've got someone newer coming to the table. It's not this intuitive thing where they're going to sit at the table and the spirit of Shaggy like overtakes them and they suddenly like absorb tens of thousands of years of like tabletop RPG knowledge and they suddenly know what to do. You know, like be kinder. And it is like, because it is a creative game that we're all playing, it's collaborative storytelling, it's, you know, a group activity. You have to be tolerant of some things. It's like with any, you know, tight-knit community or, you know, any sort of shared hobby or shared passion. Not everyone's going to do it the same way as you.
No.
And that's the beauty of it.
And use it as a chance to learn, because this is the real life. This is the real world out there. You're going to come across people that aren't going to work exactly the way you want. Use that role play as a chance to practice.
Yes.
Real life improvement and learning from your character.
Me and Cody were talking about it in the last one, how certain aspects of our players have bled over to us in real life. Like, even it's just small things like small expressions that I decided, like when first building out Hugel, I came up with a few different things that I wanted him to say. So when he thanks people, it's thank you kindly.
Yes.
I say that now. My girlfriend says that now. I caught Mon saying it the other week. I'm like, it's just the little things that are around us we start to take on. So it's another thing, like, I know I'm a talker. I can override a situation. I can get quite excited, especially in circumstances that are exciting to me, and I can rattle on and override it. I intentionally made Hugel to be not charismatic and someone who, in certain circumstances, won't speak up, because then I'm practicing through my character to let others talk and to build up others rather than becoming
That's a good way
biggest,
of doing it.
You know, sometimes I can get a bit too big in the room, I think, and
I feel
building that into my player or my character, I'm intentionally, so Hugel's whole thing is building up those around him and trying to,
He's a blessing.
you know, trying to not make him charismatic is my difficulty. But you can use that. So if you can see what your thing is that might irk other people, build it into your character to try and work on that.
I think I agree with that 100%, because that's also something that recently I've also been trying. Maybe not so much with Zero. Like, one thing I've carried into real life that has become quite prevalent with Zero is crying all the time.
Oh, sorry.
Wow, you and me went to two completely different places. I can't believe you outed me like that. I have been practicing homicide in the real. Now everybody knows. Yeah, 0 witnesses, yes.
Play a backstory, using your backstory and letting your character evolve.
In like the homemade system that I'm playing at the moment, we're running 2 campaigns, and normally I have...
Is this Norbayne?
Yes. And since I've been playing that, that's where most of my experience lies, not with D&D. I'm very D&D humble, I can assure you. I know where I sit in terms of my skill set for D&D, and it's not very high up.
I said it in the last game. I'm like, I'm the loosest DM. If it sounds cool, let's do it. Like, rules.
In terms of like, yes. But that farewell one shot was bloody fun. That was. I'm very like, it doesn't matter if it's a one shot, like a 5-episode short, or like a year or 2 long campaign. I am one of those backstory fiend DMs. I want it. It's being woven into the main story. Like, I'm so adamant on character integration, because I see so many players that put all this time and effort into their character backstories, and they get really passionate about it, and they get really attached about it. And then they give it, you know, to their DM or their GM, and they'll go like, oh yeah, I'll see what I can do. And then they just never really get that payoff that they're seeking. And at the end of the day, that is absolutely at the DM or GM's discretion and right. You know, especially if they disclose early on, like, yeah, you can write some backstory. I just don't know how integral it's going to be to the main storyline, especially if it's quite jarring to the story that we're going to be following. Then by all means, like, if you've let them know ahead of time and you've made that very clear, then full send, you know, DM however you want.
I think it's a great way as well to help world build.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, as a fairly lazy DM half the time, I like to pick my story out, but God, building that expanded world is a lot of work. And
oh yeah,
I love world building, but sometimes it's like, oh, we're never going to go over here, but recently we did the airships campaign, just like a little one shot that's going to be 3-part. We've just started to release them now. But Georgia, a friend of mine who came along, she's a backstory fiend. She gave me like 5 pages of backstory for her character, but she had no idea about our world. We gave her the basics of our homebrew world, but now we've got a whole new thing. We've got a tribe of mixed race giants that we're going to be building into the world. A new dwarvish city, but all because she put this into her backstory, and we're like,
yeah,
sweet,
man.
that's some world building that's happened now.
Exactly, that's
that we
the
don't have
beauty
to
of
come
it.
up with.
That's
but
exactly
we can
right.
expand on that.
I agree with that so much because it's literally like, it's not trying to get out of the work of world building as a DM. You know, sometimes it is just letting the players do a bit of the work for you. Because you never know, like, you'll have players that will just never be confident enough to step up to the table as a DM. That's just the reality. It's not for everyone, as nerve-wracking as it is. But some of them are fantastic storytellers in their own right anyways. And taking that backstory and that background that they built for their character and, you know, retching it and shoving it into your world can sometimes yield magnificent results. And so that's why I'm just such an adamant chaser of backstories to weave into the overarching story together of the campaign or the one shot that I want to run. Because even if we're only going to be there for a couple of hours, nothing makes you feel more like this story is mine than someone making a hap tip about, you know, a merchant store you used to run that burnt down, or making a mention of your whole family that was murdered mercilessly one night and that's how you ended up becoming a rogue. You know, just that stuff's fantastic.
It's a great way to peak a player too. Like if you've got that one player at your table that just doesn't seem to be getting fully involved, if you grab something that they've created and you bring it in, it's going to do something for them, because it goes back to that IKEA effect earlier.
Yes.
If you've made the thing and put the work in, it's got more value to you.
Exactly. I've been on the receiving end of like having awesome character like payoff, and how great it feels to see a story that you envisioned for your character specifically come to life inside of a world, and have, you know, the people that you play alongside get to witness it come to life. So I will always, as much as I can to my ability as a DM, try to incorporate that to as fine of a detail as I can. Not always possible, but as much as I possibly can. But like, looping back to like that point you made about Hugel, with like trying to train yourself at the table by making those characters that go in direct conflict with what you feel like might be a concern for you personally, or something that or an angle that you'd personally like to take at the table that you normally wouldn't. I normally make loud, boisterous characters, like very in your face, because that's just who I am as a person, just very intense, very much like a jack in a box, like just popping out and going all over the shop. And both of my Norbayne characters that I'm playing at the moment, one's just very secluded, basically only speaks if she's spoken to. God, it's been hard. It's been so hard. The other one, I gave myself a bit more leeway, and she's just a bit more meek and mild-mannered. She's been much easier to play as a transitional one, but now that I've played her a bit more, playing that much more stoic character that I made, who doesn't tell anybody anything, who is like secretive on purpose because that is her nature, I find that when I made her like a year ago and first started playing her, it's much easier to play her now. And so I think maybe Zero ended up being a bit more boisterous than what I was first anticipating.
It's funny that though, sometimes the characters develop on their own.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't think I've quite had a character yet that has sort of like picked me up as the player and run away with me as much as Zero's had. Like, when I first pitched Zero to Cody, I was like, yeah, and she's going to be this, this, and this, and real cold and callous and, you know, all this other stuff like that. And then I did like my one session Zero with Ayaka's death, and now just like her main personality trait, which I wanted to be the coffin Jaeger, the headhunter, has now become the remorseful mother, which is just a direction that I did not see taking myself, because I'm not a mum. I'm probably never going to be a mum, respectfully.
We've both got that.
Yeah,
running with our players. Like the two of our characters have bonded over the deaths of their children and
Yes.
their feelings of being a failure as a parent.
So unexpected to have that bridge.
I got no idea.
And neither do I. I have no idea what I'm doing. Oh, but no, it's been like I guess a bit of a whiplash in the like character, progress of like how she's ended up.
Well, Hugo was the same. Originally, my idea with him was going to be like almost a pious prick. Like he didn't care about anyone else except his religion. But very quickly, he's become all about building up others. Like selflessly. Like he doesn't care about himself. It's more about others. And it just felt natural and right for what was going on for him to be that kind of player. I also think you'll get a lot, like you might have an idea of what you want your player to be. Once you sit at the table and you start feeling out what everyone else's roles are and how you can play into it, why not let them change?
Exactly. But it's so like, funny that you mentioned that, because like I can very vividly remember one of those, I think it was the first episode we played where, all the fighting was going on and Hugo was like, oh, is the gold left unattended from the betting thing? Yes. And I remember like, not with Bailey as the player, but I remember Voyage making note of it because Voyage was like, oh, that was very it's very sus of Hugo to do. I don't know if I was a fan of that. And now, like, Voyage just thinks that Hugo is like the representation of all that is good and light in this world and all that is selfless.
Hugo has changed a lot in the time from having a group because, again, before he met the crew, he was on his own. So if he saw an opportunity to get a little bit of something, who cares? It's not about other people. It's just about his God. But now he's more interacting with other people. He's getting that idea of a family, a chosen family back.
Yes.
Keeping in character. Playing multiple games and keeping your characters separate.
Yes.
And I also have other issues, like, because I'm still new at being a player. So, spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched up to episode 15, Hugo may or may not have brought up domestic terrorism.
Oh, yeah.
That is direct result of not playing as Hugo for a couple of months and playing a few one-shots where I was playing like brutal pirates.
Yeah. Oh.
And I was sort of starting to play a lot more. Like the night before that game, we played another one where I was playing like a pirate character. And he's a bit of a himbo, but he's a rough dude.
Yeah.
And I'm, hanging people out of windows by their own weapons and shit like this. Then you come into the next game and I'm like, oh, Hugo kind of, that wasn't very Hugo.
He let that dog out in him for a bit.
Yeah. But now I mentioned to Cody and I mentioned it to George last week, I've now taken that and I'm adding a new aspect to Hugo, that when he's not in nature, he can very quickly become toxic.
Oh, yes.
Because he's such a nature-based
just
kind of person.
separated from his
He's been in
roots.
such a brutal city situation for a while, dealing with criminal underlords, like in such a world. He's easily manipulated. And he easily starts to get corrupted by his surroundings. So now I've built that into his character.
I love that. No, that's fantastic. Do you reckon he'll slowly heal and revert as...
Oh, once he gets some nature bathing in, it's going to be he's going to calm back down.
He's going to transcend.
But again, it's going to be a couple of months before we get back to that campaign now.
I know, which I really think loops back into the point you were making about you don't play one character for a little bit and you play some others in between and you feel that character bleeding into yours.
See, I have a couple of books that inspired Hugo, and I think when we go back to start playing, I'm going to have to throw those audio books back on the week before and get myself back in that stoic philosopher mindset that I want for him.
Yes. No, definitely. Because it does happen.
Yeah.
You shelf a character, and whether or not it just be because of scheduling or, because other stuff is happening, you do have to shelf those characters sometimes, and you might play some others in between, or maybe you don't. But losing that frequency of attachment to that character. I know on maybe 2 occasions where we had like an extended break between episodes, and I'll sit down at the table and I'm like, who's Zero? Like,
it's where things like the music playlists or,
yes,
like in my case, audiobooks and things that I assign to certain characters to get you back in that headspace can
Yes.
be really handy.
Oh yeah, those playlists are lifesavers for those big gaps. Man, I'll make a playlist for every character that I ever even received in this brain. But I think I'm a bit nervous about like the break that we've got coming up, where we're gonna go ahead to that other.
Keep talking. Just going to brighten you up a little bit. We're losing the sun outside as much as it was coming in before.
Where we're going to play that other system.
Kids on
And-
Brooms?
Yes, which I'm so keen for. And I know you've got some stuff coming up for that too, which is really exciting. But like going like, because I think we're aiming for like 5 or 6 episodes for that one, I think. And I know that that's going to take time, and it will be a couple months between, you know, our last session and then coming to this one. I just know for a fact that I'm just going to come back and
It's gonna be
Zero's going to be
tough.
off the change.
Like
Yeah.
I was saying, like just doing a couple of games in between, like little one-shots and things, I fell into those characters. So playing 5 games, which for us, they're every fortnight. So that's going to be, 2.5 months of playing a different character.
Yeah. Yeah, damn, you're right.
Yeah, it adds up pretty quick.
It does.
What's next for Tomes and Tales?
Cody's been keen to run Kids on Brooms, so we're going to be doing a 5-part arc, which I think with the way we're going to try and do them going forward, with breaking our sessions into 2 episodes so you guys can get them weekly with smaller, more digestible lengths.
Yes.
There'll probably be a 10-episode section.
Editing Seb here with a correction from our DM. It's actually going to be a 5 or 6 episode section, not 10. We were wrong. Back to the show.
For a couple of months there where it'll be completely on this other game set before we come back to what I'm essentially considering our season 2 of Tomes.
Yes.
Because we've finished our major first arc. Zero and Zeph have both had some pretty big moments. We've teased out a little bit of backstory and stuff for Voyage and a big mission for him, which will probably be what we sort of arc into next. And I think the goal will be for us to start moving through a bit of Hugel's backstory as we move towards Voyage's big moment.
I love that like the 2 city dwellers, we started off in the city and we unfolded that, and now we're moving into like our second season, I guess, where, you know, the 2 characters that have come from outside, we're now journeying into that outside, and we're going to see them unfold. I'll be very interested to see, I'm very invested to see how, I guess, more of them's going to come forward to, you know, forward in the light, because I know that Voyage has kept his cards very close to his chest.
I'm very excited for Voyage's story.
Yeah, and I know that Hugel's, you know, revealed a couple of his cards or alluded to it, but there's still a lot that's being held to his chest.
You get a lot of Hugel with his faith.
Yes.
That's what we've gotten a lot out of him this first season with the church and things like that. I think that's brought most of what Hugel, his story out and his connection to Zero. So I've told you and Cody this behind the scenes, but there's a big moment now for Hugel where he doesn't think of himself as redeemable, but he thinks that if he can help Zero redeem themselves, then maybe there's chance or hope for him.
Yes, I remember.
So there's that
talking about
kind
that.
of, there's this drive for him now towards that, and that's completely come from how Skye's played.
Yeah.
Her character has now affected a big part of my concept for Hugel was he never forgives himself for this thing, but now because this other thing's so relatable to him, he's seen almost a North Star that if he can help guide this and he can follow that path, then there is a hope for him, kind of. It's interesting.
I hope he does get, like, as a player who's also watching his story unfold, I hope he does get that redemption arc. I hope he is able to find a bit of peace within himself, because I don't know the full extent of what's happened to him, which is like the beauty of it. It's only kind of like it's smoke and mirrors at the moment with a bit of his story.
We're still working on that. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to let you guys know yet, but you know who. We've got a guest player coming in
Yes.
that will be playing a major part of Hugel's backstory.
We love guest
So I've been
players.
working with them as well, coming up with more details and more aspects, and we're even trying to come up with a few little things to make Cody go, what the fuck? Yeah.
Excellent. The more on the back foot we can make our DM, the better.
DM's Bane, messing with your game master.
So there's another thing when it comes to DM nerves. Your players will fuck with you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You can never prepare enough.
No.
You can never prepare enough. I know for a fact that, like, it's the bane of Cody's existence. Like, he writes these, like, big, intricate episodes. We come in and just take a dookie on it, bugger off, and he's like, we touched on, like, 2% of what was in front of me this session. And we're like, I don't know what to tell you.
And what's the bar called?
He was so adamant that that was not going to be called Every Nook and Fanny.
So this is the thing.
So
Cody
adamant.
decided, or within our game, we decided we'll go to a bar, go to a tavern for the night. Big moment just happened. Everyone needed a bit of, just a bit of more chill gameplay. Cody wasn't prepared with a name for the pub. We kept asking, and Skye kept throwing
mistake.
out terrible names. And as a player and as DM, I'd say if your players keep asking, just give them something. Otherwise, we're going to do it for you.
Yo, yeah, 100%.
And you're going to hate it.
Yeah, you will hate it. Absolutely. It's like almost like a humorous punishment for not having something prepared to begin with.
That's another thing, though. Like, our game was designed to be dark horror.
Oh, yeah.
And don't take your own world too seriously. Like, allow for that, because there's still a heap of friends at a table just trying to mess around and have some fun.
Yes, actually, it's a very good point, I think. Like, we certainly do touch on those more, like, darker, grittier aspects, but we are just like a bunch of dinguses at a table. It's going to get dingusy, like, very often. And I know that is also the bane of Cody's existence, because he's like, darkness, death, yes. And then we come in and we're like, let's go shopping, have a couple of margaritas, and then we'll make two boys kiss.
Yeah. Oh, what's that? Characters are hooking up? I better use my message spell and try and contact them. So Cody has to explain that one away. Like, we find anything we can to mess with that DM. I'm surprised he hasn't thrown more at me for the one-shots that we've been playing.
Literally, full-time admin, part-time menace to Cody only.
Yep.
It's hard work. It requires commitment.
It's worth it, though.
Absolutely. Listen, I wouldn't be so gung-ho about trying to, I don't know, get a reaction out of him if I didn't get such a reaction out of him.
That's the thing. If he just didn't care, we'd move on.
Yeah, literally.
He has that face that, we love you, man.
Yeah, we love you. We love you. Oh, we do it because we love you.
Exactly. You've got to keep you on your toes.
100%. But yeah, no, so I'm keen to do the Kids on Brooms, but also keen to get to season 2 and start unraveling all of Voyage and Hugel's good.
It'll be fun getting out into the world too, seeing a bit more.
Yes.
So while we've got this map here right now, I want to build one of these for Unera Shrouds. So we'll have
How
a
good is
beautiful,
this?
like, I'd love us to have an interactive map that we can put down on the table and kind of be like, we're here. And
I literally, this is like my first time like ever being here in this really cool fucking
this
studio.
is my studio space as well for where I do all my crafting videos. So there's a lot of stuff.
Yes. And like I walked down, I was like, wow. And then I looked at that. I thought Sam had bought this as like, which I should have known better. I should have known better.
The only things I've bought are the artwork and the swords.
But it's so like polished and
Came out good.
perfect.
This was
It's
months
bloody
in the making.
fantastic.
Mostly because I forgot about it for 3.5 months and then...
The Avatar tangent. We got a little sidetracked here.
I don't know, are you a fan of The Last Airbender?
Oh, yeah.
Have you watched what's just dropped of the Netflix just released their live action,
Yes.
and I kind of realized, oh, I better get this finished to, please the algorithm gods.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit scared to watch it.
It's fun. I binged it.
It is? Okay, all right, I'm
it's
gonna take
not-
your word for it.
There's missing a lot from the show. Like,
I did read that.
There's certain character aspects that were really great to see, but it's leaps and bounds ahead of the movie that they tried to do, the M. Night Shyamalan movie that was just abysmal. Like, if nothing else, I've really appreciated that we've got, like, one is representing Chinese culture, one is Japanese culture, then like
I did see that, yeah.
so, there's no white people in there, but I didn't feel like it was trying to be woke. It's like this worked for what it was. Like, this show is meant to be a mythological representation of Asian cultures. So you've got, your Japanese, Chinese, your like more.
Was it native, like indigenous?
Yeah, I know Eskimo is not the right word. I apologize to anyone for it, like Inuit or.
Oh yes. I did
Water
read
tribes,
that.
and then the Earth Kingdom is all more like Indian and that kind of thing.
Man, that's so cool.
And it plays out well. I didn't second guess it for a second. There are a lot of moments where it's like, why is that character here? But it's like, well, in the animated show, they could put a whole episode over here with that guy, whereas now they're like, we really want them in here, so we'll put them here instead.
Yeah.
So, as a mega fan of the original series, there are moments where you're like, but they missed this. But they've done really well to include as much as they have, I think.
I have heard that it's, and I mean, respectfully, not very hard to do, but I have heard that it leaps and bounds ahead of the last live action attempt.
Still can't compare to the anime.
Oh, heavens no. Like, that is a masterpiece in its own right.
Yes.
But, I mean, they were able to do it with One Piece. They did a really fucking good live action.
I've never watched any One Piece.
Don't start now.
I know, there's too many episodes.
If you didn't start back at the beginning of time, unless you're willing to like waste away and just do bed rot for like a whole year straight, then 10 out of 10 would not recommend.
I'm all for these attempts to recreate things. I know a lot of them aren't true to source material, but again, I can separate the two.
Yes.
And just enjoy them for what they are.
Oh yeah. 100%.
I'd rather like things than hate things. So
no, I think that's a good point. It's it do be exhausting complaining about stuff sometimes.
Yeah, I do like to complain though.
I also like to complain.
Yeah. So it's tossed on that one.
Keep a healthy balance.
Exactly.
Keep a balance of the positivity and the complaining.
Norbayne, developing a new TTRPG system.
So I guess we'll get back on topic of RPGs. So we just...
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
This is nonsense. This is what we do. Norbayne.
Yes. So that is I guess a game a TTRPG that we've been developing from the ground up. I came in a little bit later to the project. I'm a developer now. I used to be a test player. We'd all hunker in the creator's rumpus room of his parents' house, and we'd all sit around a big table and we'd all squish in on stools and, iron out these kinks of this very early day system, which wasn't actually early days when I came around. It had been kicking for a couple of years, quite a number of years when I came around. And it was still in its very early stages. The system itself has changed quite drastically to when I first started playing it. We've made some very big changes to it over the years, and it's been many years. But feeling a bit more confident talking about it now because we're starting to get into that territory where we're starting to finalise things. We're starting to format things like what goes into a core book, what expansions can we do, because we have a lot of content for it. We've got 24 classes.
Wow.
And
for a core book, that's a lot.
Well, this was, I'm a bit of like sometimes I'm like the Grinch of the development team, because there was like a point in time where like, I think maybe when I started there might have been, and I just know James is going to correct me on this, he'll be all like, oh, actually. But I think roughly it started off with about 12 classes, so it's doubled since then. And every time James, who's the creator of Norbayne, where it all started, he'd be all like, oh, I've got an idea for another class. They'd be like, oh, yeah, all right. And then, a couple of months would go by, and he'd go, oh, got an idea for another class. And we'd be like, yeah, okay. And it got to the point where we got up to 24 classes and I was like, it's enough slices! Stop making classes!
Keep them for expansions.
Yeah, so eventually that was something that would cause me great distress at development meetings, especially when it's like, we're discussing a new class, and I'd be like, no! That's also with love. But we're getting to the point now where, we've sat down and, we had a discussion about it. I thought, oh, well, we need to look at a core book, because at the moment we've got a lot of content for it. It's a whole new gaming system, and we had to look at what's digestible, what's going to help people learn this system without throwing too much in their face straight off the bat, because there's a lot of intricacies to the system as well. And when we started doing the play tests with a much more complete system, we were pulling people in, and we were getting people from all tabletop experience backgrounds, like people who have been playing D&D for years, people who'd been playing Warhammer, because we work off of a percentile system, which also the bane of Cody's existence. We had people who had never touched a tabletop RPG. We had people come on playing it who didn't even know what a tabletop RPG was. And seeing the adverse reactions from everybody and, the range at which people were able to pick it up and understand and get a feel for the system and find relativity in there was very interesting. And we quickly realized, we need to find a core for this. We need to sort of push away the more intricate stuff and find something that's a lot more basic and digestible for people that are coming to play it. And I'm not going to lie, even the core's looking mighty meaty at this point in time.
Well, have you ever looked at some of these old starter sets and things for D&D?
Yes.
Like playing with maybe a 20-page, very basic, pick
Yes.
4 classes as your real basic intro to it, and then have your bigger book for the nerds like us that really want to take things next level.
Definitely something I've pushed for at development meetings, and it's definitely something we're going to do, because we're looking at maybe in the next 2 years start doing a Kickstarter and finally getting it up and out there for people to play, because there's not many of us either. In the development team, I think people that regularly turn over content and are looking at what we're actually making, there's probably only about 5 of us who are working on it quite regularly. And then we have another extended team, which is only probably about another 4 or 5 people who, we consult with, and, we go, what do you think about this? And literally the best name that we can come up with at the moment is just Norbayne Light of doing something like a starter set, because it's definitely needed. It's a chonker of a game. It's very customizable. When we were making it, we really wanted to emphasize on not being able to go balls to the wall, silly sausage, anything's possible. But we really wanted to minimize sort of the intuitive limitations that you feel when you pick up a tabletop RPG. We wanted people to be able to kind of pick up different things of the game, there's with the leveling system, you can pick up a primary class, a secondary class, and sometimes a tertiary class, which is more like a story-specific tiny class that you can pick up. If you reach a certain story beat within certain other classes that are operating, you can actually hand that experience onto someone and give them a little buff of knowledge in that area, which can be a tertiary class for them. Even though it seems like you're kind of limited to really only pick up 2 big classes, the rate at which you can expand within those you're not really locked off to anything.
Yeah, it gives people more capability, I guess, to customize themselves down and pulling from different elements.
Exactly. Like you
Sounds
could
a bit more like Pathfinder, how it's
Yeah.
a bit more open to interpretation.
Exactly. Like you could pick up just like a mage as your primary class. And then when your next like level up comes, you get a certain amount of advance points. And you could just like literally pump it into stealth. You could pump it into lock picking. You could pump it into rowing because you want to be a lock picking rower.
I think we're going to have to eventually get one of these on games on the
Ooh,
channel.
yes.
Like get you to run us through a little mini arc or something where we can all have a play, and probably when it gets closer to release, we might do it as something to help you guys, you know, get a bit out there and show you guys what else people in our team are working
100%. I'll do you one better. I'll just get the creator to run for us.
on.
Yeah,
that's the way to do it.
he's like the Norbayne whisperer. It's all come from that noggin of his, so he'll be able to certainly do it justice, I guess, for the first exposure of it to I guess the online community, which we would love to do. We just need to hustle our bustles and get some stuff finalized.
Even with our stuff, we've been talking about wanting to do, you know, expanding modules and gameplay.
Making stuff. Finding the time to create.
Getting the time to sit down and actually write this stuff, though, and lay it out to be presentable. Like, I
Honestly.
really want to do little, like, modules for you guys of the airships and the Feywild games. So,
Oh, yes.
fully write out what I had. Any of the extra stuff that didn't make it into our game.
Yes.
Some different capabilities, some different puzzles. Like character sheets and monster stats and things like that for anything that I used in those games. So you guys could run them yourself. But that's so much. Like I said, I'm working full time. I edit these podcasts, we film them. I try and craft and make these videos.
Yeah.
I have 2 other side jobs that I do as part-time little things, a couple
Yes,
hours
you do
a week.
actually. Yeah, I forget that you do that. Yeah.
There's, like trying to find hours in my life to sit down and
There's not many
write
by the
this
sounds of
content
it.
out and actually make it into something publishable is a lot. So we do want to get there eventually.
Oh, yeah.
We just need to time it.
Find the time. And like,
Maybe I just sacrifice my health. Get rid of sleeping and exercising. You know, that's
no, cannot do. I'll throw away the sleep. I will cry if I have to skip gym time.
The gym. Okay, we went on a massive tangent here, but we both love it.
oh yeah, you're getting into it now, aren't you?
Yeah, I know. I don't know what's come over me.
I've got a full-time PT now, every week.
Damn.
I'm trading. I'm doing video work for him for his socials in exchange for PT and group sessions.
Damn, I need to get myself a camera and learn how to do that so I can do that kind of exchange with my
He kills me.
That, man, relatable. Mine also kills me. I think it's their job to just kill
Yeah.
you. Make you cry.
In a good way.
In a good way. In a good way.
Couldn't recommend it more to all of you fellow geeks out there. Become fit geeks. It's a much more fun life.
Oh,
You'll
yeah.
live longer to play more games.
That's exactly right. Live longer, clock hundreds of thousands of hours at that table.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful cycle.
And be like Skye. Bring protein shakes to games instead of the rest of us drinking energy drinks.
Bring whole eggs. Just bring whole
That
hard-boiled
happened
eggs.
last week.
Just be Emmett off of Twilight. Bring a whole Ziploc bag of like 12 hard-boiled eggs.
It actually happened. At our last week, 2 weeks ago, the game said, she said, I just got to pop home and pick up my eggs. And we're like, what was that? She lives just around the corner from our DM. Yeah. She jumps in the car and speeds off, suddenly pulls back up, and there she is with a Ziploc bag full of eggs.
I love my eggs.
I can't deny that. You do.
Oh,
I thought get my eggs was sort of you just saying something weird, like sometimes
just
do,
like
and
a
then
catchphrase for
then
like
you
I'm getting a snack.
came back with eggs.
And then I did come back with that. I'm a woman of my word.
You never know what's going to happen next.
But no, bloody, I think the routines really helped as well with like being able to show up to games and feeling a lot better and a lot less run down as well. I feel like a lot more like, you know, probably a bit tangent-like, but, you know, ever since I started, like, knocking everything on the head, like knocking the smoking on the head, eating, like, takeout all the time, you know, actually looking after myself, I rock up to sessions now and I just feel ready to go. Like, I only do it for D&D. It's the only reason why I do anything is for D&D.
There's a lot to it, though. Like, all of us out there have got plenty of bad habits.
Oh, yeah.
For me, it all started like 3 years ago. It was getting on top of my mental health and getting on top of the bad addictions, like the booze and stuff like that. And then fitness was the next one. So for me, it was big start was running, and I did my first half marathon, and then I got into lifting, and I've been really into that since injuring my knee, so I couldn't run anymore, but I still wanted to do something. And I am a better person mentally, physically, in every way. Like, the gym isn't just for fit people. Everyone goes there. Don't feel like you're going to be judged for going there. I know this is very off topic for what we should be talking about, but I think it needs to be said in every single way.
100%.
You make yourself 1% better every day. You know, like anyone I see at the gym, no matter what size they are, I'm stoked to see them there. I'm proud that other people are making themselves better. I think most people at the gym feel that way because they know how they all started somewhere. They all see it, and they can see that other people are getting into this thing that makes them feel good about themselves.
100%. Right, like jumping on the bus of this very like side topic thing, but it does definitely need to be said. Like when I first started, like it had been years since I had last been to a gym, and the last time I went to a gym, I didn't know what the flippin' heck I was doing, and like I would only ever go when I first started this new gym. I would only ever go at like 10 or 11 at night because I thought there's going to be no one there, and I can just do. Now I just go on peak hour and like you know.
Saw a great video the other week where a girl was talking about how nervous she was to go to the gym until she realised it had the same energy as a girl's bathroom at a nightclub, where everyone's looking at themselves in the mirror and telling each other how good they look.
Yeah, literally is what it is. Yes.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's the vibe.
I literally was doing like side bends literally the other night, and like I was just minding my business, and like this lady came up behind me and she literally just said, "Oh, get it, girl," and I was all like. And I went ahead and did like another like 3 exercises after that. That was meant to be the end of my routine, but I was like, I'm motivated now. I will get it.
That's what you need to do, and be that for other people if you do go. Encourage more. It's the same way with gatekeeping with any of these communities. Encourage.
Yes.
You know, like everything.
100%.
You know these things that make you happy, whether it's games, exercise, writing music, doing art, whatever it is, just encourage others to do it as much as possible.
That's exactly right. And that is a fantastic segue back to that original point.
Back on topic, building up your TTRPG community.
There is so much to be learnt out there by seeing other people play and come to your table, and you can make lifelong friends from it. Like you could, you know, discover things about yourself that you wouldn't have done otherwise. You can learn things from other players doing things differently to you that you would have probably never come to that conclusion on your own. It's showing a new way of doing things, and it might not always be 100% what you like, but build your community. It's a group activity, it's collaborative storytelling, and it's such a beautiful creative endeavor to share with other people. I know it sounds really corny, but whether you're there with strangers or with new recent friends or lifelong friends, you're making memories, whether or not they be fictional or otherwise. Just open your heart a bit, practice some tolerance. Obviously, this is, you know, excluding the actual, you know,
there's real problem players.
There is, you know, and as long as you're protecting your peace and you're setting your boundaries, absolutely. But all these little nitpicky things that are just like personality quirks or, you know, just little bumps that you need to iron out with a bit more experience. Stop chastising.
Don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah, really. Like,
it's a game. I know a lot of people, this is a big part of their life. And like we're saying, it can affect a lot of things and it can be real, but it's a game.
At the end of the day, that is exactly what it is. And a game is there to be enjoyed. It's there to have fun. And if you're sitting there worrying about what every other, Tom, Dick and Harry is doing at the table, little bits here and there, you're not having fun. You're expending your energy on, all these little nitpicky bits that, probably you probably don't really need to be worrying about. Because respectfully, humbly, at the end of the day, you're probably doing something that's annoying someone a bit at the table as well. I know for a fact, I do several things that probably want to make people headbutt the table right in front of them. And that's honestly just life sometimes. Yeah. My friends still love me.
That's it. We do, I swear.
Yeah, you better. But open up to your community. You never know who might need it, who might just need to come to a table and just get away from the hustle and bustle and the rat race of life.
Reality sucks sometimes, so it is great to be able to jump in and have a collaborative fantasy.
Exactly. You never know who just might need a friend. It might not even be the game that they're interested in. It might just be the fact that they just want to have a group of friends and, that this is the medium of which they connect to you all. Just be nicer, be kinder.
Can always be better.
100%. I think our table gets along as well as it does because when we look around the table, we just see a bunch of human beings that are just trying to do something that they enjoy and that we enjoy doing with them. And sometimes shit doesn't go the way you want it to. Sometimes, you might be passed over, you might be skipped over. Sometimes you aren't going to get that sentence in. Sometimes a player at the table is going to do something that you were mentally preparing for. Shoot them for not having a crystal ball to read into your mind. Love them. They're your friends, they're your community. Just love them. Obviously protect your peace and your boundaries, but, it's a group activity. I can't say that enough. Share it.
And bring more people in.
100%.
Open up your table. Bring more people into this hobby that we love.
A lot of people look at this stuff and it's very daunting. It's outside of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
But a lot of people that I can get in for a first game love it.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, that's what I started doing all these bigger builds for, because if I can put a ship on the table or some islands, it allows people that aren't necessarily the most imaginative to fall into that world, and suddenly they get caught up, and before you know it, they're in the theatre of the mind.
Exactly. There's so much potential and fulfillment and happiness to unlock by bringing new people into the community. And I think it could really do with being a lot more open and kind about the process of bringing people into it, full stop. I've witnessed some pretty, and I say all of this coming from personal experience, because I've witnessed some really gnarly fucking gatekeeping, man. Holy heckaroony. The kind of gatekeeping where someone new rocks up to the table and they're just instantly uncomfortable, because people can feel when you're brick walling. If someone new's coming to the table and, because some people feel threatened by that. It's someone they don't know. It's an unknown variable and they brick wall. They can feel that. Most people can, especially if they're also really anxious coming to the table, they're going to be so hypervigilant of it. And they will feel that and they will be uncomfortable. And, it all of a sudden, instead of it becoming a task of, being at this table and playing and having fun, it's this, what can I do for these couple of hours that isn't going to upset the people around me? It's like playing, a game of landmine on your HP Pavilion 95. It's just no good. So...
Also, don't judge people before they even get a chance to play.
Yeah.
We get a lot of people from we bring in people from all different communities for this stuff. It's not just the geeks, the nerdy. While we are a big subsect and historically it has been a part of this, some of the people that I've gotten on my tables in the past have been the people that I would have least expected to want to play a fantasy role-playing game.
For real.
So I was running one of my first games when I ran the Icewind Dale campaign. So I ran one.
Is that for the gym people?
No. So this was just for a nerdy group of mates, because this was very early on, and I was running it with old Warhammer, Lord of the Rings pieces. It was one of my first things I ran.
Yeah.
But I built a few big things up, and if you know anything about that campaign, it's set in Icewind Dale where the sun, it's permanent dusk basically, and there's always an aurora in Skye in the middle of the snow. So I shut up all the blinds, I got one of those aurora projectors for the roof, and we blasted the aircon on 18 degrees. So people came in, it was cold, it was dark.
Damn submersion to the max.
I ran a game on my birthday, and another chunk of mates of mine who are more your jockey guys heard that we were hanging out, didn't realise we were playing a game, and they all came over just to drink, because we used to party a lot. So we kind of went, all right, all you lot out back for the next 2 hours while we play, then we'll go on with our normal shenanigans.
Yeah.
One of the boys kept coming in to grab a beer or something and started lingering a little bit more and a little bit more and a little
Getting
bit more.
sucked in.
And then later on that night, so I took me, so I was like, can I play next time?
Oh my gosh.
And it was one of those, like, fuck yeah, man, you're in. Come over, I'll help you make your character, I'll help you get through it all. And like, last person on the planet I would have ever imagined to do it.
Yep.
And I think some of the other guys at the table were even a little bit like, when he first sat down, because they're like, oh, he's not the type that'll like this stuff. He's not a nerd like us. He got so into it.
Hell yes.
It was great. And I was like, this is what we need to do. Like, anyone can be a part of that. And why not open it up?
Exactly. Like, you never know, like who or what you're going to come across when you get all those people at the table. And like, man, you can get some really good friendships out of that. Yeah. Like, just some real, like, possibly lifelong stuff.
Me and Co talked about it last time. I've seen it on videos and things people talk about it for. That there's something about a group doing something in a fantasy game, even though it's not real, it feels real.
Yes.
You know, like, we can all hang out there. Like, when we took out Mr. K, you know, it happened in my brain.
Yes.
It wasn't, like, we did that thing. Like, it can do so much. And people outside of this community don't get it.
Yes.
You know, I was also saying, like, I can't come home from a night here and my room was like, oh, how's the game? I can say, yeah, it was really good. But I can't be like, dude, my character talked to his god about his dead daughter, and it was like, holy shit. He's looking at me like, what, bro? You know, and he's played a few games. He knows what's like, but he, not being there really into it in the same way, isn't going to be understanding of really how much that can affect us.
Yeah.
Like, that's where this kind of
100%.
community and like what we want to build as a gaming community all up, we need more of this.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Gatekeeping. Women in the TTRPG space. That's
also a part of the reason why I started running, like, the Dungeons and Nerdettes, was I'd had, like, it's an all-gal group, and, like, that's done on purpose. That's for a reason. Pretty much all of those players that are at that table, bar from Liz, who was new to it, but she's recently departed from us because she's following her career dreams, and we wish her all the bloody best for that.
Suck when careers get in the way of games.
I know, right? How dare she become like a head of department, you know?
Real life.
Come be a paladin instead. Yeah, exactly. But like, every single one of them at the table, I know for a fact, has been subject to, you know, rocking up to like a new table, and they've kind of been glossed over or ignored, and not all of them, but a lot of them are, you know, sometimes have a bit more of an anxious, you know, personality type of like meeting new people and whatnot. And I wanted to make that all girls table to be like a space that they could be comfortable in. And also because like it really sucks to say, like this really sucks to say, but I'm still seeing really sexist shit online still about like, you know, women and, you know, female presenting players where like sometimes I'm reading it on like, Facebook pages and stuff like that, sometimes in comment section of like YouTube videos of like smaller like D&D like live plays and stuff like that, where some people just say some really out of pocket heinous shit, and I'm like, we're in 2024, dude. Like this stuff is this is a prehistoric, antiquated mindset.
We might get some butthurt people from what I'd say, but I think there's a lot to be said about nerdy guys growing up doing this stuff that don't feel like they get attention from girls now being pissy when they're in their spaces.
Yeah, but it's the reality. Like as someone who has been subject to it, it's the reality of it, it's
funny though that it's still such a thing because. Like my roommate's girlfriend she's from Poland, so a bit different, obviously probably culturally, but when I ran the one-shot the airships here, she was very shocked to see girls show up. She thought it would be a bunch of dudes playing.
Oh, wow.
She was very shocked by the group that showed up being like Bailey, Cody, and then the two Georges.
Yeah.
A very eclectic bunch.
Yeah.
She was like staring. She was shocked. And then the next day she's like, I didn't think girls would play these games. I'm like, why not?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly right. Like I've gone, I used to play, I'm not going to like go into like massive detail about it, but I used to play at a table of like a smaller group, and it used to be for Dark Heresy. And like, not to like sound stereotypical, but just because of the way the chips fell, there was meant to be 2 female players at the table. It ended up being only me. The other girl ended up pulling out last minute before we started. And there was some shit said that was just not relevant, and it was out of pocket, and it had nothing to do with my character or what my character was doing. It was just said because I was a girl playing a girl. And if you've been on the receiving end of it, you probably understand what I'm talking about when I say out-of-pocket, irrelevant shit. Like you'll just be trying to do something with your character, and then all of a sudden there's an offhanded comment being made that's sexualizing it or some shit like that.
I think there's a big problem as well. When guys only ever play with other guys, there can be a bit of that boys will be boys, boy talk kind of nonsense that, sure, if you're sitting in your own little private spaces and you know everyone there and you do you. Whatever. But when that comes into other players that have come in and things too, we all need to learn what's that line.
Oh, 100%. Like, I played a Shadowrun campaign once where, like, I had a face character at that point in time, and I'd try to, like, business woo people. I'd try to, like, do the facing, essentially, do the face job. And, like, 80% of the time, it would just kind of be, like, tunneled into, oh, so you're going to sexualize what you're doing to get this male NPC's attention to make sure he's distracted. I was like, no, that wasn't where I was going with that, but thank you for railroading me into that. And, like, when you're a lot more new to the community and you might not be as comfortable boundary setting, or you just don't have the personality type like I did at that point in time doing a hard boundary set, you kind of just feel like forced into it because you kind of feel like I'm going to ruin the game for the others, or I'm going to fuck up this opportunity for my other players if I don't, like, do what this person's suggesting.
Like, there's room for those moments.
Oh,
the
absolutely.
Sexualizing and the flirting, and like that happens in our games, but it happens in a space where it belongs.
Yes, at the player's choice.
Yes.
Yes, if
and
that's what they want to do. It's
sort of like sex scenes in movies. You often see it. If it plays into the character and the story, yeah, fine. The sex scene doesn't matter. But when shows, movies just put it in there to be in there, it's like, what's going on? Oh,
yeah. I still kind of get like, I'm turning 27 this year, and sometimes I'll see like a sex scene on the TV and I'm like, stop. I don't want to. What if my mum walks in? I haven't lived with my parents for years, but what if my mum walks in and sees me watching this? Like, oh, but I respect it. But yeah, and like, and this was like only in the past couple of years too. And I find it so wild. well, not probably that while actually, when we think about how many people are a part of this community and how different people's progress and sort of thought pattern tracks and evolves over
Within
time.
certain groups, that stuff might fly. That's the thing. Like, certain people are fine with those kinds of things, but you've got to be very careful with that kind of stuff specifically, because everyone has a line. It's not like certain, a lot of topics is like, it's a loose line, but there are certain things like that where it's like, no, we need to let them show you how much they're willing to make that a thing. If you came in, you want it to be flirty and sexualized, whatever, that's you. And then they can make the jokes or whatever because you thought that onto your character.
Yeah.
Don't push your opinions onto other people's character.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Especially and you're so right, if there's the player instigates and goes I'd like to do this, and then your DM's also comfortable with it, full ham, flirt your way through that entire combat encounter and throw your DM's plans out the window. If I could, I would. But too many times have I just seen gals just trying to do cool shit, do action shit, do real subterfuge, political, intrigue kind of stuff. And it's so are you pulling your boobies out? And it's leave them alone.
Yeah.
Leave them alone. And that's why I started the Dungeons and Nodettes table, is because a couple of players at the table have fallen victim to that. And I wanted to sweep them up. And not that all of them now play at tables that they're comfortable in. All of them, this is stuff that's happened a while ago for them. And all of them have moved on to tables that are really good for them. Some of them have been a part of tables that have been fantastic for them since they stared playing.
This comes back to what we said earlier. Sometimes you just aren't going to fit with the table.
Exactly.
It might be you, it might be the table, it might be one other person there. But it's like finding a therapist. Not every therapist is the right one for you. You've got to
shop around.
Yeah. And when you find one that works, it completely changes the game.
Exactly. And I really want to encourage gals that might have had a similar experience. Don't let it stop you from participating at mixed tables and stuff like that. But also don't let it stop you from getting a whole bunch of gals together and running your own game.
Yeah.
Just full send.
Join the community however it works for you.
Exactly.
Finding your vibe. There's no wrong way to play, just the wrong table for you.
Even if you've got a few friends that just seen that little bit involved, just be well, let's have a go at this. And especially if you do find people you're comfortable with, I think our table's done really well. I never met any of these guys till we first played together, but there was a straightaway, everyone had the right vibe towards each other. There was that, no one pushed things too far. We let things sort of unfold and see how they played out. There are even little moments early on where my character got pissed at your character for something.
Yes.
And we came into the break and Skye's like, oh my God, I'm sorry, are you okay? I'm like, oh no, that was great.
Yeah.
That was
Yes.
in character.
I do a lot of apologizing on breaks and behind closed doors. I'm so scared of, which I think plays into that whole problem player stuff. Watching those videos, sometimes I get so fucking scared.
It was even everything though. I've played Hugel out, as anyone who's watched, as his sexuality's sort of been, it could be anything like that. It's not really come up. So there's no reason to just be I'm straight, I'm gay, I'm bi. It doesn't, that's not a defining part of his character.
Yeah.
And then Voyage, who is openly flamboyantly gay.
Yes.
And Hugel have had straight away quite a good connection. And I got a message from Bailey early on, would you be uncomfortable if Voyage was hitting on Hugel? I'm like, no. He might not respond, but that'll be about what's happening. But I'm there's nothing you can do at the table that will make me uncomfortable. But I think the fact that it was asked and put out there, that's the kind of little things just make sure, because some people aren't going to be cool with that. And I've put it out there now, I think most table know, do whatever. I'm here to play the character. If things make sense in the story, throw it out there. I will respond based on how I think in character he would respond at the time.
Yeah.
There's nothing personal. There's nothing, doesn't make me gay because my character responded to him.
Yeah.
Grow up a little bit on that stuff, but also checking in is always a good
we are as a table, like on breaks, before sessions, after sessions, like those days leading up to sessions, we as a group are like behind the scenes, we're constantly checking in on each other. We're like, hey, I had this like idea for like this episode coming up. I kind of wanted to do this and it's going to affect your character. Like, do you mind if I like go ahead with that idea? Because I've been asked a couple of things before. Like Bailey's asked me a couple of things in terms of like, oh, Voyage kind of feels this way about something Zero did and he's going to bring it up with Zero next session. I'm just giving you a heads up that like there may be like a confrontational conversation happen ahead of time. That for me is like fantastic. Sometimes they happen unplanned, like scripted in sessions, and it can take people a bit off the side. Some people just roll with it and that's fantastic. But the fact that like, you know, he gave me the heads up, because sometimes I get a little bit too invested and the lines blur between reality and table. And I'm sitting there like, what did I ever do to you? But like he checked in and he was all like, hey, there might be a confrontational conversation coming up next session. Are you okay with that? And I was all like,
I think he's great at that.
Yes. I was like, I love to have a little bit of a debate, a little bit of an argument sometimes. Full send.
Honestly, Bailey's probably one of the best players in like, because I've had him play through a couple of my playthroughs of like one shots and like playing with him at the table. He's all about building up other characters and helping build up the situation around him. When creating characters one shots, every time it's I'll see what everyone else does and I'll fill the void. Like he's very good at that kind of thing. It's brilliant. And if you ever have that opportunity, like, yeah, we all want to be the main character. Sometimes pull back a bit.
Yeah.
Because again, look, I'm obsessed with psychology. I read all these books and things, but there's nothing more interesting than someone who's interested. You know, if you're helping to build up the people around you, you become more interesting.
Yes.
And that can do a lot at the table. Like,
like
we're both saying, we're really eager to see what happens in Voyager's story because we don't feel like a lot's come out of it yet. Like a lot of us, the rest of us have had so much story being divulged at the table. But now because Voyage and Bailey have done so much to build the rest of us up, we are so invested in now getting the same out of him.
Exactly. Like, so sometimes I'm a bit more of an aggressive supporter pusher. Sometimes I'll just have my character outright intervene and be all like, we're going to unravel this stuff about your character now. It's happening.
It's hard not to be above the table on some of these things.
He said it! He said it!
I know, like, but that's right. And I think, especially like both the McDougals, both of them make such good supporting players when the time calls for at the table, is because both of them have a history of being at tables where they have been brushed over, where they have been ignored, where they've put a whole bunch of effort into a character and it's just never come to fruition.
Well, I could see that honestly with Zeph early on, that there wasn't much push to do it, but more and more has brought out that character.
Exactly.
And from what you're saying, I could see it, that maybe there was the idea of, I don't want to push it too much because if it gets brushed aside, I don't want to put all this into something that isn't there. And I know Bailey said the same about Solus, I think it is.
Oh, yes, Solus, yes.
Who's now been built into Voyager's backstory, which has been a great way of him to redo that.
And we lost our audio recording and one of our cameras at this point. So we'll jump back in once I noticed and fixed the problem.
That whole campaign just went down the toilet because we couldn't basically talk about, you know, the things that were happening at the table that were making certain players unhappy. And I know that that's a game that we'll probably never be able to go back to. I do plan to run Shadowrun at some point because I would really love to close that chapter, but it's a honker of a system. Like just being a player in it was like a mind boggle. But I know that my character from that game and Bailey's character from that game, we had woven such an intricate story for them, both separately and as two players whose like stories were overlapping, that we never got to see realized because we couldn't just turn around and go, hey, there's stuff happening here that like is really making some of us feel unheard and unseen. And, you know, like, players were literally speaking over the top of Bailey and trying to move past his character moments, and just basically took like a massive dookie on him at the table. And someone's legitimate reasoning was, I'm from a table where we have to fight to speak at the table. So like if he can't speak up and fight for what he wants to say, then unfortunately he's just going to get missed.
But that's what I was saying. Like certain tables, like I know amongst my group of mates, it can be like that.
Yes.
Like, my parents used to be like, you always talk up, you're so loud, you're always talking over everyone. And then a couple of my cousins came out with some of me and my mates, and they're like, I see why, because you have to.
Yeah.
But then in the rest of life and at other tables, you've got to learn to fit to the environment. That this table isn't that table.
Exactly.
Like, you know, this situation is different. You've got to adapt, not just bring from one experience across.
That's exactly right. Like, to just like turn around and just like invalidate someone's whole experience at the table because they don't want to speak over the top of you. Wild concept to me. Couldn't be me.
But they're the circumstances where that person should play at that table. If that's the table, if that's how they play, that table works for them. You know, there's always a table for you, but certain ones won't work.
The hard line. Boundaries at the table. Editing Seb here. Just a heads up, guys, there will be some difficult topics discussed in this one, including SA. So if you want to skip this section, we understand, and jump to the next section of this video.
Like if I want to go into the worst one I've run, I'm not going to name names or go into anything too specific, but first game, you meet at the tavern. We ran the classic thing. First thing he did was sexually assaulted a barmaid, killed someone for stepping, or tried to kill someone for stepping in the way, and then tried to drag her off to a private room against their will. There were 3 girls playing at this table as well. It was the most uncomfortable, and like he'd only ever played with groups of bros when they were 16.
Oh my fucking
So
God.
they probably just wanted to do dumb shit like that, but it's like, that is so not on, and like was never reinvited to the table. Next time we played, we had, because I used to have the whole town built when I would run Fandover, his mini was sitting on the gallows. We played that off as a thing from then on.
Rightfully so.
that his character was arrested and killed for what they did from then on. So there was, you know, we played it out in a way that kind of gave it a bit of justice to those who it made very uncomfortable.
100%.
But I got messages from pretty much every other player later on going, what the fuck was that?
Yeah. No, that is like some tables I've been at, older ones, this has definitely not been a hard line. But I know for a fact in the past couple of years I've been playing, almost every table I've been to, it's just common sense now. The most transparent thing, all of my like DMs and GMs for like, you know, so some older tables it's been that way since the dawn of time, but a lot more recently they just go, I'll let anything happen, no sexual assault, don't give a fuck.
I think that's a fair line.
Yeah, don't give a shit what context. Don't want to see it happen at the table. Respectfully, don't want to see it in your backstory. And that is a fucking valid line to put in.
If you want to put it in your backstory for your own motivations, fine. Don't expect it to be played out at the table though, because
100%.
You know, there's a lot to that for people that have experienced it, for one thing.
There's a lot to unpack.
But it's not a topic we need to bring into things.
Look.
Like there are a few topics I know in this community that can be a bit iffy. I think slavery is another one that can, depending on your table.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it's been a part of history. So if you're playing it into a cultural thing and it's never pushed on as a good thing, you know, we need evil to defeat. So sometimes evil things can apply. But things that people in our world actually experiencing can be very much affected by is where the line really does need to
I think it's all about just being like not tone deaf with your players. Like it's not just about like, you know, essay and stuff like that. Just any topic that generally might just be a really uncomfortable topic for someone at your table to broach. like if it's something that's a lot more like mainstream, like maybe someone at the table just doesn't want to deal with dying or killing, that might be a matter of you may need to find either like discuss it with your DM, maybe see if like there's, if there can be no death at the table or killing at the table. But if not, that might be a case of just finding like a table that works for you. But when we start to like get into stuff that's like a lot more niche, really got to touch base with your players and make sure that like everybody's comfortable with what's happening.
I've even heard a lot of things where people will do like a checklist for a session 0 of things that are off topic. 'Cause,
yes.
Great
idea.
A lot of us, again, in this community are in different subcultures or neurodivergencies or have had different, life experiences. To a lot of us, it might be like, oh, well, of course, like no one's going to care if there's giant spiders, but someone might have serious arachnophobia where that will trigger the shit out of them, having a whole heap of spiders put in front of them on the
100%.
table. Like things that might seem like nothing to us can be a lot to someone else. And I know it's very easy to just go, she'll be right.
Yeah.
But you'll never be wrong for just checking with your players first and saying, like at the beginning, is there anything that you want off bounds and that we should maybe know about at the table that is off bounds, because we want everyone at the table to have a good time.
That's exactly right.
And it's very rare that something that's going to be off bounds for somebody is a deal breaker for somebody else.
Well, that's exactly right. Like, and it's a learning curve as well. Like, sometimes we might say something out of pocket at the table. Sometimes, we might do something that's a bit iffy at the table. Maybe somebody else at the table just wasn't a big fan of something that happened. Maybe sometimes, like when we're just sitting down having a yarn, maybe like, I don't know, something gets said that, just didn't really sit well with somebody.
I've said things that don't sit well with me afterwards.
Yeah, you do that like whole you're just looking in the mirror afterwards and you're like, I'm a piece of shit.
I said that.
I'm a piece of shit. But like it is all about learning and growth as well. Like you got to take the lessons as they come. If someone gets something wrong like the first time or the second time, like I'm all about a bit more about positive reinforcement and like sort of just going like, hey, like that wasn't, fantastically groovy. Let's look at some alternatives and like see what sits well, with everybody else. I have found whenever I am trying to like instill a thought process or a boundary or a level of comfortability in somebody that's going to make everybody else at the table feel better, I find attacking them about it straight off the bat never, like my point will never sink in. If I'm like straight off the bat, I find that it like never sinks in.
Most people, if we get attacked, we're going to get defensive. And
yes.
then it doesn't matter if you're wrong or right or any of that. As soon as you're on the back foot,
yeah,
it's very hard for people then to take a breath and go, oh, hang on, maybe I was wrong. Like, because naturally we defend ourselves. That's just built into us.
Oh, 100%.
So if you feel attacked instantly, it doesn't matter if you were in the wrong or if you know it even, you're not going to hear it.
Exactly. Obviously, like, if it's getting to like, Travis, this is your 5th time pooping at the table, stop. Then,
That's a line, I think, yeah. Fifth time?
5th time, like, then obviously I feel like we're on grounds that warrant crankiness. But I always try to take a bit more of an, empathetic approach.
Give them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't mean it.
Malice, yeah.
Because often things are said or people will do or say something and it's like, oh, that's
human,
all right, but it was just a misspoken thing or misunderstood. And not to, give people an excuse for being shit.
Yes, that's also not what we're saying.
But if you come into any of those situations giving someone the benefit of the doubt, they're going to be more understanding and they'll hear you more.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's, again...
lose another battery.
Oh, my gosh.
This is the fun of running this stuff ourselves.
Love that, carry on. But, like, that's the whole point of it. Like, looping back to what we were saying before, just practice tolerance and kindness. Share your lessons where you can. And, you know, we're all learning together as well. Especially when you're starting out at a new table or a table that's a bit more fresh in nature, you know, there's always going to be learning curves. There's always going to be speed bumps.
Finding our way. The fear of sharing content and staying in the lines.
And especially when we're doing this kind of thing and then putting it out on the internet and online, like I'm not going to lie, it's like, it can be bloody nerve-wracking.
That's terrifying.
You're so hyper vigilant of everything you do, and then you get those like times where you're not hyper vigilant and you play as if like none of these exist, and then you go home and you're like, did I say anything that was real out of pocket? And it's like it's a fear cycle, and you're like laying in bed at night like, man, I really hope I didn't fuck up and say something that's going to upset someone, because at the end of the day, it's not the boundaries of like and the consideration of everybody at the table that you're taking into consideration. When you play and you record and you put it out on the internet, you have to sometimes really think of like a lot more variables, because a lot more different people from different backgrounds and like, you know, stances are going to be watching. And I think something that's really gotten lost, especially more recently, is learning the difference between content that is genuinely offensive and content that is genuinely malice in nature, as opposed to something that's just not your cup of tea. Because I've seen some people get reamed over the coals over stuff, like literally people making their own personal choices for their own character, like where to take their story. And some people have just blown up comment sections and go, that's not what I would have done. I can't believe, like, this is just rubbish. I will not be watching again. And it's like,
you're more than welcome to fuck off if you don't like general things.
Yeah.
But also, if we are doing things that are over that line, by all means, let us know, because we are human.
Exactly.
We also, like you mentioned earlier, when we get around, we start getting into it and having fun. We forget the cameras are there sometimes, and some of the stuff might not be super appropriate to put out into the world. We want to build up this RPG community. We don't want to be creating things that are putting people off from the community.
Exactly.
So we are open to hearing your feedback, but also it's our game, and if it's a rule stickler or something like that,
stuff.
There's plenty of other podcasts out there.
Exactly.
And we love every one of you that does want to watch, but if you're just going to hate watch us, by all means, waste the time and give us the watch hours.
Yeah, actually, I take back what I said. Watch the shit out of us.
Yeah.
Comment several times, actually, as well, if you could, please.
But here's another thing for the haters out there, though, in general. A bad comment is still a comment to YouTube. You're still engaging with the content. So if you hate on someone, you're actually helping their channel.
Feel free to hate on us on Facebook as well and TikTok.
Yeah. The algorithm's not good enough to determine the
We're saying that like we've got haters.
It's a thing. So
it's a fear. It's a genuine fear.
Well, but it's also, I've seen people talk about it as a legitimate thing, where like during a video they'll intentionally 7 + 7 is 16 because they know that they'll get a million comments saying no, it's 14.
Yes, the baiting, the hate baiting.
Yeah.
Yes, that's nuts. Could not be me personally.
Well, I did it on one of the old videos. For originally I did before this map, I did my Zelda map, and I got a lot of people that were pissed off because something wasn't right or this town wasn't there or something. And I'm like, thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, I feel like there is a difference between like feedback where its intended purpose is feedback and someone just wanting to take a digital dookie in your comment section.
Oh, you get a lot. Like at our level, most of you guys watching this are probably people that enjoy this stuff. If you break out to a certain size, though, you start being shown to people that aren't your normal audience.
I know.
That's where things change.
It's one of those paradoxes where, like, you know, we do want like more people to get involved. We want you in our Discord. Like, you know, we want you to like comment on our stuff. We want to see the engagement.
We want a community.
Exactly. That's exactly right. We want a community from this. But there's always that fear that sits in the back of your brain about what if one day something small does just shoot off and then it just wretches the whole like channel into like someone's spotlight, and we just get a whole bunch of people watching us that aren't of, you know, I guess the same caliber as, you know, our early watchers, the people who, you know,
Similar
get what
to
we're
finding
making.
the right table to play at.
Yes.
The right audience for our channel is like, I would rather us have 100 people that really enjoy our stuff than 1 million people that don't give a crap.
That's exactly right. And like, you know, it's that weird middle part where you really want to put your stuff out there because you want to share what you're doing, and you really want to share your story and your ideas, and you're proud of it, and, you know, you want to share that creativity, and you want to share those fun times, you know, with, you know, you guys out there on the internet. And then there's the other side of it where like it's kind of like, this is a scary thing to be doing. All it takes is just one blow up, and one, especially nowadays, like one small thing that someone doesn't like, and it's literally fucking game over. I'm actually like sort of a bit more like less anxiety riddled now that we're starting to see almost a phase out of cancel culture as we currently understand it. Because, man, there were some people getting cancelled.
It was being weaponized a little bit there for a while. But
yeah, that's scary. As content creators, that's fucking scary. It literally has you looking over your shoulder, like in an online presence. It literally has you looking over your shoulder like every 2 seconds.
like, I think part of it's good in the way that it keeps us aware, like that we're not just throwing out anything and everything. Like,
yes, hold you
know,
accountable.
Yeah, you need to think. Like I was saying, if we do say something or do something that you guys are legitimately like, not too sure about that,
That's fucked up.
please comment, message us privately, jump onto the Discord and let us know, because we want to make this as welcoming to everybody as we can.
Exactly.
We had some technical difficulties here, but all you're going to miss out on is about 10 minutes of me and Skye ranting about people making dickhead comments on different social media. So we're going to jump back in after we finish that one and when our audio cleaned back up. Tomes and Tales. More about us and our motivations.
You know, we want to put our stuff out there, mostly because we love this stuff. We want to share this stuff. It's fun to us. But also there is that part that if we can do this to somehow, if I could get one person into the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know how much this game has now meant to me and affected me. Same way with my crafting. If I can inspire one person to get out and make something, it's so worth it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I agree with you 100%, man. It's kind of worth like sticking your neck out a little bit in terms of like putting this stuff online, because like if we didn't do this, we've got really cool people in our Discord now that we talk to almost like daily. Some of them we're messaging and talking to. Like we have people who join the Discord that are now going to be coming to the table and playing with us. Like and, you know, we talk to them like outside of the table and stuff like that, you know, not even about D&D related stuff, like just like general life, like building up friendships. That's what it's all about with the community. And I think like sometimes it is kind of worth just sticking your neck out there a bit, especially like if it's just going to like really ignite the passion in somebody else.
Yeah.
So big risk, but big fan.
Yeah. Do it.
Do
Get
it.
your own table if you guys are comfortable.
Do it! Just do it!
By all means, jump over and share it in our Discord. We will share anything in this world. Like, we will promote it. You've probably seen it on a few of our things before with the guys, you know, we worked from like with the Ravensbridge Emporium guys. They do some beautiful stuff in this world, and we've thrown a few of, you know, little ads for them on our channel as much as we can. We want to promote others within this community. And by all means, even if you just want to jump over to our Discord and try and plug some of your stuff, we're really keen to see what you guys can do.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like, even like with collabing and like building each other up, and, you know,
if you want to come on here, if you're on the Gold Coast or anywhere in like Southeast Queensland, hit me up.
have a yab.
Yeah, come join, come have a chat.
I'm young.
Let's talk nonsense. Loosely D&D, as you know, if we kind of go off topic a bit, but that's the fun.
Listen, I got nothing. I got no excuses.
That's why I want to do this sort of thing, though. I want you guys to be able to meet our cast and other people in our community outside of the table. Because when we sit at the table, we are not really ourselves. We are playing as our character. Yeah, our personalities come out, but there's so much more to this world that we're about that won't come out at our table.
Yeah.
And if we want to build up our community, and we want you guys to get to know us as, you know, the expanded team, not just as Hugel and Zero. Like,
yeah, exactly.
We want to be out there. We want to be famous, you know.
There's this like a video that's like just buried on the internet, I bet now. But every time someone says something like that, there's a video of like a little girl in a princess dress. She's eating some chips. I think she's like maybe 6 or 7 at the most. And she's chewing the chips so pretentiously. And she's like, I want to be famous.
Hey, I want to be famous.
I'm like, I need the confidence that little girl has.
Oh, I wish I could say that we want to be famous without like into sarcasm to it, because
it stings. It stings to say.
It feels like, if I'm being honest, we do. I would love it if this blew up to a point where we could make this.
We could do it full time. That's why we
could make content. We could pump this stuff out. We could work with as many of you guys out there.
It's the dream.
We could build our community. But let's be honest.
Yeah, look, it's a pipe dream.
Very likely. Yeah, it's a moonshot.
Yeah, the pipe's very long as well.
Why not? Like, I will admit to that. I want that. Even though it might not be seen as the most, you know, humility or whatever, you know, we're not just making all this.
No, we have a dream.
For the game. We do want to build this up into something. And again, like I mentioned earlier, we'd love to be able to then provide more back to the community. But to be able to do that, we need a community.
Yeah.
So we need to build that community, and we know what that takes.
Yes, because like, you know, we've already come across like so many like amazing content creators within Australia that, you know, some of them we've gotten to see them actually start up. You know, like some content creators that were kind of just like thinking about it to begin with, and we've actually got to see them start their journey up. And we like have been able to like connect with them, and, you know, some people that watch us now watch them, and like all this other stuff like that. And I don't know if there's enough of it in Australia as a base. And that's kind of really what the aim is. I know that that's definitely Cody's aim, and I'm definitely behind him on that, is to build like a tight-knit community of content creators in Australia, and then maybe one day beyond. But I think there's a bit of a lack of support between creators full stop in Australia in comparison to like other online demographics like in other countries and stuff like that.
We're a very small portion of the audience in Australia, even of our audience. I haven't particularly looked at it on this channel, but I know on my personal channel, I'm something like 38% US audience for my crafting channel, which is mostly D&D related. Australia is something like 3%. We're very small numbers in Australia.
Guys, what is support your local grown content?
It's the style of content. I'm sure there are certain things that are much higher. But again, even I know my mate that does gardening, and it's Australian-based gardening, so it's all about our climates, things like that. Something like 70% of his audience is the US. They're a much, much bigger percentage of viewership for a lot of these things. So
I guess there's a lot more of them. I forgot to do basic math. Let me just let me just rewind that.
I'll put the little. But yeah, it's a big difference. So it is a lot for us to try and reach out and find people within Australia, but we want to build that up. We want,
100%.
We want the community in Australia to grow as much as possible and help each other to grow as much as possible.
We have to become strong. We will become strong together as an online presence.
Well, I think we've talked for like 2.5 hours.
Damn!
Are there any other topics you would like to bring up?
Absolutely not.
I think we've done pretty well.
Eaten so much of your time, or if you're one of those people that don't like us and you scrolled on, good for you as well.
If you've stuck around, thank you. Like, This format is something new we're testing out because we want to put out as much content as we can. And days like today where we'd normally play, but some of our players aren't available, being able to provide something for you guys, especially maybe growing out within the community for those of you that aren't necessarily keen to sit and watch actual plays, but still like to be a part of the community. We want to be able to provide more for you. We want to do more piece to cameras. We want to do more of these kind of just sitting and chatting. We want to grow and expand what we're delivering, whether it's videos, podcasts, interviews, just piece to cameras, actual content. So magic cards, modules, monster stats, custom classes.
Yeah.
We have so much like in the works and concepts we would love to build out. We just need to know what you want to see and if there is an audience for us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you have stuck around to the very end, and even if you didn't and still watched like a decent chunk, which then you wouldn't be hearing this part. So if you stuck around to the end, thank you very much. And sorry you had to see my mug for 2.5 hours.
Well done, though. That's a solid effort.
Yeah,
I think there's been some good
effort.
chats. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. We'll be back for some more above the table chats with the rest of our cast. And again, like I was saying, hopefully some more other people from our community. And until next time, we still haven't come up with an outro.
Bye.